we are here with the charity Child, which is a charity based in Kenya. We're just going to be having just a brief discussion with Child and Parenting and I on parenting, and in particular, we might just chat about the genderization of parenting and the different roles and structural consequences that this has had. We were going to maybe chat briefly with Cherio and Jacob, and in particular, Cherio, your upbringing and how this has influenced your passion.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for inviting us to the podcast today. My name is Cherio Onacha. I am the programs manager at child.org, based here in Kenya. My day-to-day role entails the management of our projects in Kenya and beyond. It also includes building and maintaining the various relationships we have with government and other partners in the corporate sector. Aside from this, I also take lead in the development and innovation of new projects, and these are projects around maternal and neonatal health. So I'm very happy to be here today to talk about my experience, my personal experience being parented in our context here in Kenya, and how this has motivated me to do the work that I do today based on experiences I know in the areas where we work in.
That's great, Cherio. Thank you very much. And that's such a great insight into your role. Jacob, what is it that you do within Child as well?
So I'm Jacob Chege, working for Child.org as a programs officer. My day-to-day activities here is to make sure that I coordinate and implement activities in the Child.org at the community level. So I also manage and maintain the relationship that has been that is there between the Child.org and the national and county government. And apart from that, I'm very passionate making sure that men get it when it comes to supporting their women, pregnant women. And maybe within the conversation, I'll take you through how this happens, how I'm able maybe to take through men to accept to support their women, as well as how we do to the pregnant women to accept to take healthcare services.
Kind of from what you're saying, I can see that there's quite a strong link between what Parenting and I does and what you yourself and Child do. I think something that is really important and to the heart of Parenting and I is how we support dads as a key role. Through that, we just have like an understanding that dads do have a different experience within parenting, which is something that we as a society have to change. And a lot of Parenting and I be through like advocacy and a few of policy works towards that, just to have more of an equitable society and to let dad have more of a voice. We kind of touched into a wee bit about the structural roles and why we think dads need to have a little bit more support. And Cherio, you had mentioned that your own personal experience within this contextually has played into why you're so passionate about your job and Child. Do you want to explain that a wee bit more and how maybe within the context of growing up in Kenya?
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. Yeah, so I was raised, at least for the first 4 years of my life, I was raised in a very unconventional way. My mother conceived me when she was quite young. She was 18, right after her high school. So by the time I was being born, she was supposed to join uni. She was supposed to go to uni, which was a bit far in the city from where she lived back in the village with her parents. So after she delivered delivered me as a newborn, I mean, what happens usually in cases like this, because they were not yet married, legally married with my dad, I would have ideally gone to live with my grandmother, so her mother, who would have raised me until my mother was able, was in a position to raise me. But in that time, my dad objected heavily to it and was like, why would my child be raised by another person when I'm here, I'm still alive, I'm still able to take care of him, of her, which doesn't happen in many societies, like just finding men, taking lead and ownership of, their newborn babies. So yeah, and he just made it clear that he wanted to be the one to raise me. He wanted me to live with him, and he was confident in the fact that he would be able to do this. So that was finalized, and so my mother left me, I think at 3 weeks. I was only 3 weeks old. Left me with my dad. She went off to college, about 350 kilometers away from where my dad lived. And yes, my journey with my dad began. So my dad explains, and even my aunt and relatives who saw how that unfolded, they say that my dad read a lot. He had like books, piles and piles of books on, baby nutrition, what baby care, and all of those things. And that really guided and supported. It's unfortunate I didn't breastfeed. Formula at the time was very not accessible to many Kenyans. So I survived on cow milk, but I'm okay. So that's good. And he basically, like everyone explains to me that, he was in charge. Like clinic days, it was me and my dad, him taking me we shared a bed up until when I was 3 years old. My mom could visit. It was explained to me. I knew my mom was studying, but I didn't like that link between, okay, yeah, there needs to be a mommy somewhere and something missing. That never occurred to me. I knew my dad was everything. So if like when I got to the age like 2, when I started talking, like I would tell people that, my mom is off to is studying somewhere, but I'm with daddy. Daddy takes care of me. Daddy is my mommy. And yeah, so it's just very interesting, and that really, I think, impacted me a lot in the way I view parenting in general, because now what was modeled to me was, a man taking charge and taking care of their baby, and not even complaining one day about it. So even when I became a parent myself, I never had like any different expectations from how I was raised. I knew, and like in many families here in Kenya and beyond, like I just knew that, as a father, you need to take care of your children. Like you need to change diapers, you need to wake up at night, you need to do all of these things, because that was what had been modeled. But that did not happen like naturally when my husband and I had our baby, because there was that he was raised differently. He was raised by the mom. The mom was like the primary caregiver, taking lead on everything. So fathers in our society many times usually take that back. They are the providers, so they'll provide, for example, money to buy food, money to buy diapers, clothes, facilitate mothers to take their babies to clinics and such like things. But the actual like take baby care, changing diapers, putting the baby to sleep, feeding the baby, all that is left to the mothers. So having our daughter and my husband sort of, being like, oh, so how do I? And I'm like, no, this is our baby, so we are supposed to do this together. We take turns. If I wake up this time, the next time you're the one waking up, and so it was, I'd say it wasn't, it was challenging in that way, that he was also teaching himself. He was getting himself into this role, learning these things, learning that it is okay. Because in our society, when, men are had to be doing, roles within the family that are presumably like female roles, they are said to be weak. So you will find, like, even when he was doing all of these things, he, for example, could not share, like cannot freely share with his friends. In most Kenyan homes, we do have like two families, two homes. So you have your rural home, and then you have your home in the urban setup most of the time where you work. So it's the same for us. And most of the time you find now, over long holiday like Christmas, families will travel to their rural homes to see like the sort of extended families and things, get to interact and things like that. So at the end of when my daughter was about 10, 11 months, we took her down to the village where we have another home. And in the village, I mean, for us in the urban setup, he had been doing all of these things. We had been sharing roles, but when we went to the village, he sort of like whispered this to me that, oh, do not let me do these things when everyone else is watching. Because then people are not going to respect me. I'm happy to do this, but when it's just the two of us, like when my mother or my siblings are around, I would want you to do, to be the one taking care of the child, which is very interesting. I understood them. I understood it at that time. He said it in a very light-hearted, like sort of way. I didn't take offense in that, but I'm explaining this just to show like how gender sort of biased. It's really entrenched in the way we think, the way people think, and it's sort of, yeah, it takes over. It's just a mind, something in the mind. So anyway, my experience has really shaped my work, what I am passionate about doing in my role at Child.org, because how I was parented and how I have seen me and my husband parenting our daughter is not what happens in the society that we live in. We find that many women are usually the primary caregivers. They are stuck with this role with little or no support around them. And specifically in Meru County, where we have our biggest project, we have seen, like, and Jacob will talk a bit into detail of the experiences that he has seen, but women in this society, like, it is different for me that I was empowered, I was raised differently, I've gone to school, I'm exposed, and in that way I was empowered in that instance to talk to my husband about my expectation, what I needed, the kind of support that I needed from him, which is very unlike many women in the society that we live in. Like, they do not, many women in these instances do not feel like, even in situations where they need support, they don't feel like they can ask for that support. Sometimes they don't even know, they have lived in this society for years and years, and what has been modeled is mothers taking care of babies, and fathers taking that back role. So part part of what I do together with, the county governments and the communities that we work with is to make sure that, the women we are working in have information on how parenting needs to look like. They are made aware of the support they need throughout, the pregnancy period up until when the baby is born. We also do a lot of advocacy initiatives in the communities to make sure, and Jacob is best placed to talk about this, but we talk to men, encouraging them to support their wives, encouraging them to be part of raising their babies, and ensuring that information comes from, like we have male role models, like the elders in the church, the community leaders, the representatives in the county governments. We make sure that, they are the ones giving out this information and modeling what parenting should look like in some of these communities.
It was really lovely to listen to, and how your upbringing has affected and given you that drive to debunk stereotypes, I guess, and also to see how your upbringing has reflected in your own parenting style now, which is great. So you were touching in on how a lot of parental roles are quite genderized, and my question would be, how do we actually debunk these stereotypes worldwide? And Jacob, you had mentioned that you work on the ground. So how is it, do you feel, Jacob, that you can actually debunk these stereotypes?
Actually, as I had told you, is that most of the society in Kenya are patriarchal, and men have been made to feel like they are superior over women, even during their raising from their childhood, adulthood. They are made to feel that they are superior over women, and now when it comes now to the marriage, now they become even more superior because they are told you are the head of the family. So most of the information that they are instilled into them makes them feel superior. And now that becomes a culture. It becomes now women are made also to feel that they need to be submissive, no matter how, whether the men are right or wrong, there's nothing to debate. So that is how the society has made both gender look like. But Child.org, in the first iteration, we had Team Mom, not thinking about Team Dad. So we found that as much as we worked so much about the Team Mom, and they were not, in the society did not allow them to make decisions, we felt that it was nice now to bring men on board. And one way of bringing them on board was now to talk to them and also to kind of empower them to gap the knowledge, and as well as if there is a practice and attitude that has been happening, you need to erode that. So that is how we came up with the Team Dad, and we always have like the TV session, we have the radio session where you take through men on how they should do parenting together as a project. So for us, we call them a project where you are supposed to raise children together, and being a part of a project, you are partners in equal. So we really do that, and sometimes it's very difficult because to bring men together, it's not a joke. It is something that you need also to you see their pattern, the pattern of bringing men together. When you study it, you find that you may find them in places where maybe they are resting, the places of worship, the places where they are having their games. That is what we have been doing. This stereotype maybe could be, in most of the society within Kenya, between 15 to 16, men undergo circumcision. And in this, there are instilled so many things that are, maybe I would say, masculinity in nature, and you are made to feel that being a man, this is what your study should be. And having gone through many other sessions, for me, it is easier for me to see what is wrong and what is right. And being in child.org has also helped me to learn that what we have been doing as a society is something that we should erode from the society. So that is why we have made sure that we have at least we have groups of men where we could talk, and we have started with the most influential men in the society, say the church leaders or the religious leaders, say the society leaders, like the elders, and then you talk them through why they should encourage men to support their women, and also allow them to kind of have a debate on what, maybe allow the opinion from the women on a matter related to their parenting. And this has worked well. We have seen some changes, like you can see nowadays men accompanying women in health facility, either during delivery or when they are doing their antenatal care. You can see that now women have been provided with the resources they require during maybe this pregnancy period. So it is not simple. It is a behavior change approach, and sometimes it will have the baby steps, but we are happy that it is heading somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like the point that you made about empowering men and actually bringing them into the family sphere. And yeah, I probably add to that and emphasize that there is no hierarchy in looking after children. Was there anything else, maybe, Cheryl, you wanted to add into that, and how your work strives to debunk these stereotypes?
I think just to say that, and especially within the work that we do, we realize that with the patriarchy, if for a baby to thrive, and then we need the father to be involved in that upbringing, because in most situations, even when it comes to seeking healthcare, it is usually the man in the family giving permission to the mom to go to hospital. So many of the women we work with tell us, I have to ask for permission to go for my antenatal care clinic. I have to ask for permission. I have to ask for money from my husband or partner for transport to get to a health facility to get my antenatal my antenatal care services and things like that. Also, very interestingly, is that at the point here in Kenya, especially at the point of delivery, in cases where we have an emergency, it is your partner or husband who is supposed to, like the father of the child, to sign off like when you need an emergency cesarean section or something like that. So if the father has not been involved through the process, then that becomes very complicated at that point, because they'll be needing someone to sign off. And in an emergency situation, you can imagine where a decision needs to be made very quickly. You can imagine what that would mean if the father is nowhere to be found. Another reason why we feel very passionately about male involvement, or dads being involved in pregnancy and the care of their child, is that domestic violence in the community we work in Meru is, like, the rates of gender-based violence are very high. So men there, for various reasons, are very violent. They use violence to resolve marital issues or family issues and things like that. So, and a woman going through this during pregnancy, or even with a newborn, you can only imagine the maternal outcomes or neonatal outcomes you could potentially get when a mother is being beaten up, or we've even had instances where even the children are put in danger because of this kind of violence. We also had a project where it was a baby box, slightly different project where we were providing like a baby crib in form of, like a baby box to provide safe sleeping for babies. And the reason for this was that, many women reported sleeping with many times sharing, because co-sleeping in our context, again, for context, for contextual purposes, co-sleeping is very common in our society, at least. Most mothers share beds with their babies. So to make breastfeeding easy and just generally taking care of babies for them during the night. So women we worked with reported sharing beds with men who were alcoholics or men who were smokers. And because men do not understand like the repercussions of their actions, like alcohol and smoking, to the newborn baby, they'll just, they'll come home drunk and just sleep and, potentially put the baby in danger. So why we do what we do is to put out this information. You need to be involved. You need to know the needs of your newborn baby. You need to know what is right and what is wrong, so that as you are coming home drunk, you shouldn't be sleeping with the baby. You should take the couch or get somewhere else to sleep. So it's not just during pregnancy, but even post-pregnancy. If you're not involving dads, then it means you are missing out on, the support the child might need from the dad when, they're born and when they're being raised.
Yeah, that's such an important point, Chario. And I also really love the work that you do in child in also giving mothers and women the voice. And yeah, that's it's such a huge part of your charity. I also love how you emphasize how childhood work is so important. And that's something that personally I have a lot of passion for, and making environments and the family unit a safe space for children. And that starts with parents equipping them, which is a lot of what you do, Jacob, equipping Team Dad. And it's so important, and it's such a big topic. I could talk all day about the parental role. There's so much to talk about, but yeah, I think it's great because we've talked a lot about kind of the genderization of it and of Team Dad. And in particular, Chario, I thought your experience was really important to listen to, and how that has positively influenced the way that you parent, and you can see the outcomes of it. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do this podcast. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you and learn a wee bit more about your charity and how you work on the ground in Kenya. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for having us and giving us an opportunity to talk about our experiences and why the work that we do at Child.org is very important to us. And we look forward to future conversations.